back once again on The Verdict. Mick Cornett and Kent Myers, we're here every week meeting interesting people and dealing with topical issues, and you kind of snuck this subject in, but it's something I've been dear to my heart for many, many years.
I did indeed. I'll take the credit for it and the blame if any is to be passed around, but I wanted us to do a show about the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, and of course Mick, my partner here, was the part of the most recent class, just inducted several weeks ago into the Hall of Fame, and we wanted to do a show about how it got started, who were the principal players, what progress has it made, what do you envision to happen in the future, and we've asked to join us on this show Eddie Griffin, who is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, to join us again as he has before, and ask the two of you to talk about it and tell our viewers some interesting tidbits about the Hall that they may not know.
Eddie's done a great job of making this a statewide organization, and I think people all across the state of Oklahoma should be proud of it. Eddie Griffin, today's guest on The Verdict. We'll be right back.
I've always been a public servant. I've served either tribes, I've served the federal government, or I've served state governments. The law allows me to express my natural desire to advocate. My name is Stephanie Cochran. I am an attorney and I am Chickasaw. Lawyers give their clients, and in my case, tribal governments, a voice. And it's through legal decisions that tribes have been able to accomplish and to regain some much lost footing that they encountered in the late 1800s and the 1900s. When I reflect back on this time in history, I think I'll look at it in terms of opportunity. And I think now we have to turn those opportunities into long-term success for our future generations.
See more stories about the Chickasaw people at profilesofenation.com.
People have been talking about energy independence for a long time. It's always been popular, but today it's possible.
We have an enormous supply of oil and gas in the United States, much more than we thought just a few years ago.
New technology, massive new discoveries, largely made by Oklahoma companies. It literally changes everything.
And Oklahoma is leading the charge. Go watch this video to see why. Energy independence starts with us.
We are back on The Verdict. Mick Cornett with Kent Myers. Kent's going to introduce today's guest.
Yeah, I'm going to introduce Eddie Griffin, making his second appearance on The Verdict. He is the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. He had an outstanding career both as an athlete, wrestling on 2 Oklahoma State University championship teams, and as a coach, coaching wrestling in the high school and Division I college ranks. He has served in an athletic director position at Northeastern State University. He in 2009 became Executive Director of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, and he's here to talk with Mick. And we're going to have a little different approach to the show today. I hope you'll bear with us. Since Mick's going to be doing a lot of talking about the things that he knows about and he experienced in the past, I'll be doing a lot of the questioning and just kind of put these guys on the griddle. The only thing I regret about this is that I can't put Mick under oath, but we'll do it with unsworn testimony today. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
It's great to have you, Eddie.
It's good to be back. Yeah.
Have you recovered from the recent induction ceremony?
Barely. Still got my back's a little sore still, but no, it's good.
Well, let's go right to the beginnings.
Okay.
Mick, you were here. You were part of the beginning process. Why don't you tell us what is your memory of the beginnings of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame?
Well, I grew up in Oklahoma City, and was always so proud of the sporting heritage of Oklahoma, and was aware, in my, as I turned into adulthood, that we didn't have an Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, and I remember specifically in the early 1980s, I was listening on the radio, and the sportscaster, a national sportscaster, was telling us that Joan Benoit, the marathoner, was being inducted into the Sports Hall of Fame for the state of Maine. Great honor for Joan, and of course, obviously very deserving, but I thought to myself, I don't know a whole lot of athletes in the state of Maine, could probably, certainly wouldn't take two hands. And I thought, they have a Sports Hall of Fame. In other words, they've gone to the effort and are doing it, and we haven't. And I just thought, you can wait for someone else to do this, or you can, just start doing it yourself. And so I just felt it was an oversight, and I started making some calls and called Steve Owens and Allie Reynolds, whom I had known, and Glenn Dobbs up in Tulsa, because we wanted it to have a statewide presence. And sometimes it's best what you don't know. The economy was pretty lousy when I was suggesting that we should do this.
What
and it was
time period was that?
This was 84, 85, 86. So
Yeah.
it was
Penn Square Bank had just gone down.
It had been down, and our economy was retreating for every one of those years. And but I remember calling some people trying to raise some money to hold the first banquet and to get the thing started. Some people said, "Boy, you've got a lot of guts to start this in this economic time." And I remember thinking, I was just in my early 20s. It was the only time I knew. I didn't know about economic cycles and things like that. And I was employed at Channel 5. I was fortunate to have a good job. And so, I just didn't see waiting because of an economy. If it was a good idea, we ought to do it. And then someday, I hope we'd have a museum where we could honor these athletes and coaches.
Well, we had quite a few very illustrious sports heroes that had not been recognized up to this time. Tell us about a few of those.
Well, in the beginning,
it's
pretty obvious that you have to kind of start with Jim Thorpe. He was maybe the world's best athlete for the first half of the 20th century. But at the time, that I was on the phone talking about establishing a Hall of Fame, you got to remember that Bud Wilkinson, Henry Iba, Carl Hubble, Mickey Mantle, these people were all still alive.
Warren Spahn.
And Warren Spahn, and very much, the victims of this oversight, I felt, by our leadership. And so, those people were, the easiest to bring on board. But, being a humble group, they didn't necessarily, weren't looking for a banquet to go to and to be the center of attention. And so it's almost as if, sometimes I felt like we were having to induct some of these of the biggest names in the world of sports, so that down the line, when people were inducted, they could join the ranks of these incredible athletes and coaches.
Was there any resistance that you recall to getting the project off the ground and locating it in Oklahoma City?
I don't remember any resistance. And in the beginning we held banquets in Oklahoma City and in Tulsa, and then eventually we realized that if you're going to have banquets, they almost have to have a following year after year, and you need to pick one place and go. And so I regretted having to, because I kind of liked going back and forth between the two. But I realized, you can't start from scratch every year and try to sell tables to a banquet. Otherwise, you'll have very low attendance every year. And we didn't want low attendance. We wanted this thing to grow. And so it has been an Oklahoma City-based induction banquet ever since. But no resistance. The media got on board early on, and when you have, some of the leadership in the state, like Steve Owens, and at the time Allie Reynolds, willing to step forward and talking about what an honor it was and how it was necessary for us to bring these athletes and coaches to the forefront. It grew really fast.
Well, I guess membership from the very beginning was not limited to athletes.
No, and I kind of set up some criteria early on, and with senior golfers coming along, you could picture a time where those guys would never be able to be retired, and so they were playing so long. Yeah. So we set up a criteria that you had to be retired from your athletic career for 5 years, or be age 50, and of course that would allow coaches, once they had reached age 50, to be inducted as well.
Eddie, let me direct this next question to you. What initially spurred your interest in becoming involved with the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame?
Well, back in the 90s, I was the director of athletics for Oklahoma City Public Schools, and got to know Lynn Draper and helped out a little bit with the Jim Thorpe Association and Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. And we created the Jim Thorpe Native American Games at that time for high school kids here in Oklahoma City, and basketball and football. And just got to know Lynn and the organization and the good things that I saw happening over there. And then I left Oklahoma City and went to Northeastern State as the director of athletic for 8 years, and got to the point where I could retire. And Lynn and others had talked a little bit about coming back here, so Shirley and I decided to move back to Oklahoma City, where family's at and everybody. So it's worked out well.
Well, what was the hope that you had when you moved back here and became associated with the Hall of Fame? What was your long-term goal?
Well, the long-term goal, I could see it. There hadn't been a facility until 4 or 5 years ago, and they were just building the facility. You could actually see, touch, and feel what was getting ready to happen. And and going along with what Mick said, just the legacy in Oklahoma, the sports heritage in Oklahoma is just unbelievable. It's probably unmatched in any other state in the country.
When did we induct our first class? Does anybody remember?
Yeah, that was '86.
Yeah,
we did two banquets that year, 3 in Oklahoma City and 3 in Tulsa, and now over 150 have been inducted.
Well, Mick, what other individuals in Oklahoma City besides sports figures were instrumental in getting the Hall of Fame started?
Well, I think our business leadership has been generous, and I know Devin stepped forward to make sure that the Hall of Fame had a curator, and that's something you don't think about necessarily when you're starting to have awards banquets. But if you're starting to make a collection, those things need to be cared for. And if you really expect people to donate some of their precious memorabilia, they need to feel like it's going to be taken care of and from a historical perspective. So the corporate leadership has stepped up in Oklahoma City. Not to say that we don't have a significant fundraising effort to try and improve the facility, but it's been impressive how they've stepped forward.
Yeah, where is the facility located?
We're about a mile north of the state capitol at 4040 North Lincoln.
It's on North Lincoln.
On North Lincoln. Can't miss a big statue of Jim Thorpe right out front.
And when did you open up that facility?
4 years ago.
So prior to that time, where, if anywhere, was the memorabilia displayed?
I think Mick and Lynn had it in their closets.
Yeah. We had a collection of paintings, but we weren't really collecting memorabilia up until that time. Until we had a place to put it, we didn't really want it. And at least, it could have been that Lynn was collecting a few things, but I never did. And then once we had the building open, of course, we have some really nice items in there now. But it just needs to be bigger, a little more interactive, a little more higher technology, to take advantage of where a lot of museums around the country are. But this is one of the, as Eddie said, one of the top states with a sporting heritage is in Oklahoma, and we're one of the best sports museums. But there's a long way to go, and we could do this better. We need to take a break, though, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll be back. With more of Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame.
That's it.
When you have something important to communicate, it becomes clear that there's a lot of competition for your audience's attention. So how can your message stand out and actually resonate with your audience? Legal Graphics has the answers. The team at Legal Graphics will work with you to plan, design, and even test your presentation to ensure your message will be heard and remembered. Call Legal Graphics today to schedule an appointment. The readiness is all.
The good life comes naturally to Tulsa, where nature's beauty is matched with an eye for aesthetics. A legacy of neighborhoods graced with lawns and landscaping and handsome homes. A place that seems to have patented an ideal lifestyle. Bank First is loyal to the quality of life Tulsa assures its citizens, to the priority placed on education, culture, and growth. Loyal to builders who transform raw land into residential charm. Developers who see opportunity and add vitality to Tulsa's economy. Bank First serves both enterprise and private lives that need a loyal partner. It's how we help nurture this city's very good life. Bank First. Loyal to Oklahoma. Loyal to you.
I've got the power.
I've got the power.
We've got the power.
And you've got the power too.
You can donate to local arts and cultural projects that are in need of funding. You decide where your dollars go in your community.
You have the power to bring projects to life.
Search, donate, empower. Let your voice be heard. powertogive.org.
Welcome back to the Set of the Verdict. We're visiting, of course, with Mick Cornett, as we do on every show, but today he's offering up a little bit of his own memories and thoughts on the topic of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. And we're also visiting with Eddie Griffin, the Executive Director of the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame. Eddie, tell us in the most recent ceremony this year, whom it was that the Hall inducted.
We inducted 6 great individuals, distinguished members of the Hall of Fame now, but 2 posthumously. Gerald Tucker, who was a great athlete and an Olympic coach, winning coach in the 40s. He attended the University of Oklahoma. And then Darrell Porter from Southeast High School here in Oklahoma City, MVP in the World Series for Major League Baseball. And then we had Roy Cooper. I guess his nickname is Super Looper, Roy Cooper, many-time world champion calf roper. And then Leslie O'Neal, an Oklahoma State graduate and a great player at Oklahoma State and in the pros and a 6-time Pro Bowler. And then J.C. Watts, quarterback at the University of Oklahoma, Orange Bowl champions a couple times. And then last but not least, the founder of this organization, the reason some good things are happening today is Mayor Mick Cornett.
Well, that's an awfully nice way you put that, and I certainly would endorse that. His touch has an effect on a lot of people that way, not only in sports matters, but life in general. Mick, congratulations. I know we've done it before, but I really sincerely congratulate you on your induction. It's certainly a wonderful honor. Tell us about your principal memories of the induction ceremony that night. Things that
it was in early August. Just seeing my kids in a suit was a big honor to me. As casual as the world gets anymore, to see your 3 grown boys wearing a suit all at the same time, and no one had died. It was like it was an amazing moment. I'm always struck by the courage of these athletes. When they're playing at the time. I can remember covering the career of Leslie O'Neal. The guy was double teamed almost every game he played in college when I was watching. And then of course I remember J.C. Watts, holding on to a pitch so long that he knew he was going to get a helmet in the face. And then he would pitch to Billy Sims, and of course Billy took care of the rest. Guys, I was such a fan of Darrell Porter. When I was a sportscaster in the early 80s, I went to the World Series and bought a ticket from a scalper outside. I mean, I just wanted to see, those teams play. And I've gone to a lot of games, but I haven't bought too many tickets. When you're a sportscaster and then a mayor, a lot of times you can figure out a way to get into an event because you're typically working at some regard. And then when you talk about courage and then just maybe crazy, it's those rodeo guys. And every rodeo guy we put in was the most colorful, one of the best speakers that you ever hear. I mean, those guys have so many stories, and I've covered enough rodeos to know it. It's one thing to throw rope and catch a calf or something, but those guys that wrestle steers, I mean that's insane.
That sounds like something Eddie would do.
They're jumping off a horse on the back of a steer and they're wrestling it to the ground. And then they talk about their injuries. Well, I guess so. I mean, have you figured out why this keeps occurring? But anyway, Roy Cooper gave a great speech, as I mentioned, all the rodeo guys ever have, and they're so grateful. They seem grateful that we're including them, with what you might typically call the ball sports, baseball, football, basketball. But to me, I mean, why wouldn't we? I mean, they don't have to convince us it's a sport. They don't have to convince us these are athletes. I mean, I've seen enough of this. We don't have enough rodeo people in there, so it's our honor to get them included.
Well, I'm sure your family was pleased to be there with you.
They were.
Eddie, talk to me about what you remember most about this most recent ceremony.
Well, I think going off what Mick just mentioned, probably one of the better lines of the night was J.C. Watts when he was ending up and said he was going to add to his bucket list, and he's going to add that he wants to spend some time with Roy Cooper. And Roy Cooper is a hoot. Now, and Mick's right, the rodeo guys are just great guys, great people. But you know, to have the quality of people come back and be inducted.
Do you have a lot of former inductees back?
We have many come back. We introduce them before the ceremony start, and it's a great time for them, and a lot of people get to see and visit with them, and it's a great evening. It really means a lot to the state of Oklahoma, I think. You know, there we had Governor Fallon was there. We had two other former governors, Governor Henry and Governor Walters. Former Lieutenant Governor Jerry Askins was there. We just had a lot of people that have an interest. I was going to say interest, but know that in Oklahoma, sports and probably music are the things that people can grab onto here in Oklahoma, and I think the state of Oklahoma, without a doubt, is probably one of the greatest states in the country with the quality of people that we have in sports.
Well, you had quite an attendance, did you not?
We had around 700. Yeah.
Is that a large
That's
number?
That's pretty large number when you get everybody in black tie.
Yeah.
It's a good number. So.
Well, did you have any surprises that night?
Not really, just because we had in January, we had the induction process and got to listen to a few of them speak earlier. But some of the surprises were the presenters for our new distinguished members of the Hall of Fame. And we had Jerry Terrell, who played Major League Baseball with Darrell Porter here. We had Congressman Tom Cole here. Desmond Mason was here for Mayor Cornett. We just had a great group of people here that would spend the time to come and do this important thing for these individuals.
Let me ask you, both of you, I'll start with you, Mick,
okay.
If I may. How do you see the Sports Hall of Fame contributing to the well-being of Oklahoma City and the state of Oklahoma, both?
Well, currently the museum available in North Lincoln is free of charge, and you can bring kids by, and it's a great place to spend an hour. It's not like, the Baseball Hall of Fame in Cooperstown or one of those things that you might spend all day, but it's a really good, meaningful hour, and I would recommend that people come into Oklahoma City and visit, come in and see some of these things. But we can continue to grow, and I think we do need a larger facility, a more complete facility where we can bring in some higher technology that a lot of museums and cultural centers are creating for themselves today. You forget that young people need to be introduced to these heroes, and there's a lot of great role models that have been inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, and I think that the continued exposure is going to help us educate our kids about how great it is to be in Oklahoma.
In about 30 seconds, Eddie, tell me where you see the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame 10 years from now.
Well, I see us continuing to grow. We have a lot of interest in thousands of people that come through the facility for various reasons. But along with Mick, we need to continue to grow, to add on or make some 5-year plan on expansion. I think we continue to grow and represent the state of Oklahoma in a positive manner, and that's what I say when I visit other places. We get the ESPN and others in Orlando or New York for the National Football Foundation. They always wonder, how are you guys in Oklahoma doing everything that you do? Well, it's because of hard work and good people and a work ethic.
Mick, 20 seconds or so. Same question.
We still need more philanthropic support. So if we could build a better facility, if we can get people to pony up.
Hours of operation, real quickly.
Well, we're closed on Mondays. The museum's closed on Mondays, but Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 5.
You need to get us out of here. We're out of time. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both.
Kent and I will have a final word after this.
The human body, an amazing machine. What we're capable of is astonishing. we look to what makes us human, we find that life is more than a heartbeat, and hope is more than an idea. That knowledge moves us forward, and our community keeps us together. OU Medicine is at its heart, keeping Oklahoma alive and well.
All children deserve a life of hope and love, but sometimes they experience a life of pain, neglect, and abuse.
When that happens, each child deserves all the quality assistance and representation that can be offered in our legal system. For more information, call 23-CHILD.
Oklahoma Lawyers for Children, helping to bring hope and love back to the lives of abused children.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
I really think people are so unaware of the number of kids waiting just in Oklahoma. And I think if more people knew that those children were out there waiting, I think that just by the way we live our lives and the people we talk to, that maybe we can help encourage adoption from Oklahoma.
You will always be mom and dad to me.
The Journal-Record is pleased to be a sponsor of The Verdict. The Journal-Record, since 1903, the best source of Oklahoma business news and legal information.
And for almost 30 years, Oklahoma political, government, and business leaders have turned to the McCarville Report for accurate, reliable, inside information. Visit the McCarville Report online.
I was with some of my longtime friends. These are friends from grade school, and one of my other friends was pointing out that I was being inducted into the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, and this other friend said, "Why?" and I told him that my wiffle ball career was finally being recognized. And of course, that was a little jab at him because my knuckle curve was pretty good, and I knew he never could hit it.
He never could hit it. Well, congratulations again. That's just wonderful. It's a wonderful organization, and it serves our community nicely. We got a couple of websites here.
Yeah, we do. Would love for you to go to the Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame's website and look at what they have to offer. But it's oksporthof.org. That's oksporthof.org. And we have a website if you'd like to see a subject discussed that's close to your heart, or a guest that you'd like to see interviewed on The Verdict. Go to the website and tell us about it. The website is theverdict.tv. We'll see you next week.